go home and scratch my head because I'm doing great work. I'm seeing great, phenomenal success stories. I'm clean myself. These great things are happening, and then I'm going home and just boom, this like black depression is hitting me, and I hate my life. I hated everything about my life. I hated the clothing. I hated the hours. I hated everything about sport. And then I'm going, this is crazy. Why? What's wrong with me? Of course I'm going, what's wrong with me? I mean, you got to realize, nobody even wanted to sit next to me because I'm going on television talking about prostitution. So in people's minds, if they talk to me, then they're a prostitute. So every meeting that I'm going to, people are clearing off a deck away from me. Nobody wants to sit next to me. I mean, I have become a pariah, okay? Because the men know that if they talk to me, people are going to think that they want a prostitute. The women are going to be associated with it. Nobody wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
I can't get a job because I'm on television and everybody knows me as the lady on TV, but nobody wants to hire that lady. Like, how is recovery paying off for me? It's not. I mean, everybody talks about what a great job I'm doing, but nobody will give me a fucking job. Nobody wants me to live in their building. Nobody wants to give me a job. Oh, I'm such a wonderful person, but go do it down the road, okay? And so you can imagine, I'm starting to get really fucking depressed. I'm gaining weight like a motherfucker. You gotta realize, on top of all of this, I have gained 100 pounds. I'm having trouble just paying the rent, So I'm beginning to get in this mood, like, what the fuck, okay? And I got really, really deep into, why am I bothering? Why am I doing this? No one will come near me. No one will talk to me. I mean, I'm not getting the point. So I got really depressed. So I became pretty sure I was going to kill myself to stop it. I mean, I didn't see the point. I mean, I'm not saying that in the feel sorry for me way. I just really felt like I was just going to end it. I just didn't see the point.
You see it as an option.
And no, I started planning on it. I started taking care of my affairs, making sure that my mom was going to be taken care of. I started making final arrangements. I mean, I just started planning on it, and what happened is I had this weird moment, I don't know what you call it, where I told God, like, unless you have another solution here, God, I'm just going to go through with this, and I'll give you about a week. Okay? Give me about a week to snap me out of this, or I'm coming up there. Or I'm just going to end this. I gave God a chance to come up with some solution.
You gave him a deadline.
I did. I totally did.
Okay, go ahead.
And I went to this, there used to be a midnight meeting. So I go to this midnight meeting, and as I walked into this meeting, this strange man I never met before in my life, he grabs a hold of me, he looks at me, and he goes, my God, he said, the disease is kicking your ass, isn't it? And I'm going, how do you know? He goes, you're not okay. And I said, no, I'm not okay, And he goes, we'll talk after the meeting, And that man was Grateful Dave Moorhead, as I called him. And after the meeting, he introduced me to two other men. One was Greg Pierce, and another one was Bo Sewell. And evidently, the Narcotics Anonymous World Service Convention was held that weekend in Van Nuys. Okay, if you go into an NA meeting, there's a book on the table, the basic text. That's because of Greg Pierce and Bo Sewell. And then there was Grateful Dave, who I always felt Grateful Dave. There's an actor that he reminds me of. Anyway, he looked a lot like the guy from Sling Blade that married Angelina Jolie, and I can't remember the name.
I mean, I don't know. I know Billy Bob Thornton married Angelina Jolie.
That's it, Billy Bob Thornton.
Boom, got one.
Looked like Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
And so these three men, Greg Pierce said, oh my God, you're hitting the end of the road. I go, what's that? He shows me in the book, it says, when at the end of the road, we realize we cannot go any further. We realize that we can, there's something to the gist of we realize we can go back to our disease, or we think about killing ourselves, basically. And it talks about when you're at that point, where you can't go back, but you don't want to go on, how you go on to the next level of your recovery. And, you know, it talks, and it's right in there, the book, and I'm like, why haven't I seen that? And that's when they go, because you're being lied to. What do you mean I'm being lied to? They said, you're in Los Angeles. You're in the land, the heart of treatment centers. And he said, treatment centers are selling you a bill of goods. You know, they are selling you treatment, and they are selling you that getting clean is going to solve all your problems, and they are lying to you. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Because I said, this is all I've been hearing is I'm going to be clean and I'm going to live happily fucking after. And I'm not living happily fucking after. And I said, why has nobody told me that an addict cannot live clean? And that we need you know, a different kind of thing. And they go, why do you think they threw Jimmy out of the office? And I go, what, huh? I thought Jimmy quit because he was sick. And they go, no, you are being lied to, little girl. And think about it. I've been working around treatment centers, so I'm like getting it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you know how I can get out of this? Because I said, I'm about 1 week away here on my calendar from offing myself. Have you got a solution? And they go, don't you know you're at the same point where our founder was? And I'm like, no. What do you mean? And then they show me another part in the book where Jimmy Kinnon himself talked about being suicidal at 15 years sober, that he got 15 years sober and he was ready to kill himself. And I'm going, why is nobody talking to me about this shit? You know, and they're like, you know, again, you're being hidden the truth. So I'm like, okay, well, I want the truth. What is it I got to do to get the truth? And they said, you've got to realize that NA got taken over by the government and treatment centers, and that's why you're being lied to. And what they did was they chased a lot of the original members out of California, and we all like regrouped back east. And I said, well, then sign me fucking up. Well, I'm coming back east. I felt like I had grabbed onto a lifeboat in the middle of the ocean with these men. So then Dave calls me up and says, we're having a meeting back in Rutherford, New Jersey about what are we going to do about this takeover of NA. And we'd like you to come out and tell us, because remember, I had been getting all this education from Bob Stone. Now, Bob Stone was supposedly the opposition that had taken over the office. So they want me to fly back to Rutherford, New Jersey, and tell these original members of Narcotics Anonymous all the stuff that Bob Stone has been telling me. And they want to educate me into what the truth is. And they also want me to tell them what Bob Stone's been telling me, right? Now, this thing in Rutherford, New Jersey was this big church. And there must have been 300 people there at least. It was packed. I mean, just packed with people. And Dave and Greg and Bo were there. And Dave says to me, I just want you to go up and tell these people everything Bob's been telling you about how he got the job, what his role is, etc. Now, I don't really know how wrong all this is. I just know what Bob's been telling me. So I get up and I'm looking at like 300 people in this church, right? And I'm going, okay, I met Bob Stone when I asked him to teach me how to run a program, a 12-step program, and this is what he taught me, and this is what he told me about how he got the job. And the whole time I'm talking, I'm hearing, whoa, whoa, and I'm going, okay, obviously this is not the truth. But so I just, do my thing. And then afterwards, of course, everybody comes up and starts telling me like their side of the story about how Jimmy didn't let go of the office because of his health problems, that he was illegally taken out of the office. And why? And I'm like, why? Why would he be taken out of the office? If you look in the news, you'll see that the government was getting ready to issue $4 billion to create drug treatment for addicts. Okay? So government's getting ready to put out all this money to create drug programs. So they went to Jimmy, these people from the government went to Jimmy and said, we need your literature. We need a 12-step program to be part of our treatment program for addicts. Supposedly Jimmy said, fuck you. He wouldn't do it. He said, I am not going to lie to addicts and tell them that treatment works. I will not be a part of this. I will not have my name to it. So he refused. Okay, so they essentially figured, well, Jimmy's lost his mind is what they felt. Jimmy doesn't understand. Jimmy doesn't understand how important it is. And they essentially illegally, against their own bylaws, took him out of the office and they took over control of the office. So this is where the war broke out. Because these treatment programs and the money was coming through California, they had pushed all the old school addicts out of California. And this was the people that I'm meeting back east.
Yeah.
So Dave's like, well, you're going to come stay with me for a while and get yourself acclimated, and I'll introduce you around. I said, okay, that sounds good. He had an apartment right on the beach. Atlantic City's like the beach, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And he had a house that was right butt up against the beach. So this is like my first night, back there. Everybody was not, and then everybody left, but the three guys and Dave. And Dave sits me down on a chair, and he goes, but, he said, before we get too far into this, we need to do something. I'm like, what? And next thing I know, they're going into an exorcism on me.
All right, hold on. So this is in Atlantic City in a basement?
Yep. Yep.
It's
because Dave said he could see the spirit in my eyes. That's why he knew what was bothering me. He said he could see it in my eyes.
So
and he knew that that's what was bothering me, was that I supposedly had a demonic entity in me. And so that's why he needed to get a hold of me and have me be exorcised.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, ready for this one? I'm ready. Okay, so you sit there. So
I don't know what to tell you.
No, I like it. Hey, just tell me what the truth is, and I'm ready to hear it. But let's see here. So you go. Okay, so you're basically just you're at this guy's apartment, and what do they do? Is it on a couch? Like, are you just in a regular living room? They
sat me in an armchair, and Dave was standing next to me, and the three guys were, I guess, around me in case I got violent. I don't know. And Dave's like, he says to me, like, I know this is what's in you, and we need to get it out of you. And then, of course, I'm like, really? Like, are you crazy? And then I felt something come out of me. I felt an anger come out of me.
Was there holy water? Was there the whole thing? Like, how exactly does that happen?
Yeah, they had holy water.
So you sit down and they start. I guess there's some kind of procedure. Like, is there verses? I'm just curious about the whole setup. I've never had one.
Well, I guess I don't know. I guess he had to provoke it out of me. I guess first.
Yeah, but does he just start asking you questions, or does he just start what happened there?
He started talking to me, and I started getting angry and lashing back. And then I started hearing something come out of me that didn't sound like me. It didn't seem to be coming from me. It just was coming out. And that's when he goes, that's it. And then one guy did start reading Bible verses. And there's a part of my head that's going, this is crazy. This is freaking whack, Yeah. And then I'm hearing this voice come out of my mouth that I'm not really coming out of my mouth. And then there's a part of me going, whoa, what's that? And then I don't remember too much. I honestly do not remember too much.
Yeah, that's fine.
Except 3 days, there's 3 days later, I do remember coming to. I do remember I'd been in this chair for 3 days, and I have bits and pieces of remembering them taking turns. They would take turns of reading Bible verses at me, and I'd argue back with them and argue back, and then something come out. I don't know. I just remember a lot of arguing.
There was 3 days? This was 3 days?
Yeah, because when I started to snap out of it and come around, I'm like, how long have I been sitting here? It was like I came out of some kind of altered state,
Yeah.
And they were all exhausted, as you can imagine, and they were all like, yeah, we did it. And I just remember waking up when they were all like, oh, it's done. What happened? And I'm listening to them recount stuff. I have no memory. It was another altered personality kind of thing, is all I can tell you, because I don't remember parts of it. I remember coming to when they were done, and being told about what they did for 3 days, and I'm going, I have no memory of this.
Did you take a
really
break? Do you remember? I know you say you don't remember. I'm just going to ask this. Do you remember any, do you remember going to sleep or eating or going to the bathroom or any of that?
No. No. I don't remember getting out of that chair. Mm-mm.
It's very interesting. Okay, well that's
And
is there anything else?
they were quite confident that they had done an exorcism on me, and that's why I have no memory of it. And I took their word for it because I did feel differently after that. I felt very different after that.
Yeah, was there a relief, like a when you say differently, with like just weight off your shoulders, or your mind felt different?
Well, first of all, that suicidal depression was gone, which, you know, I tend to wonder. I mean, there was a voice in my head telling me to kill myself. And I mean, I used to, up until this exorcism experience, I would hear, I don't see the payoff in this. What's the point? You might as well go back. You know, I mean, there was a voice that I would hear that would talk to me about how suicide was an option. I didn't hear that voice anymore after this exorcism experience. Okay, so yeah, there was a difference. I didn't hear that voice anymore. I didn't have that depression anymore. I didn't have that rage anymore, and it just wasn't there.
Now,
so there was a definite difference in me when they were done.
In your honest opinion, what do you think? What do you really think?
I totally think that it was a demonic entity that they got rid of. I totally believe that because that voice was gone.
You left that shit out.
So how could it be my voice?
You let it out in New Jersey. It's roaming around somewhere on the beach now. That's fucking.
Three guys in New Jersey sat down and did an exorcism on me. Yeah, I mean.
God.
But you know, this is part of, and then you know, me trying to come to grips with this, and I'm going, I don't understand. And then, you know, getting more into the whole their theory behind addiction, you know, is that addiction is demonic. Addiction is turning over to the darkness, so to speak. You know, and that it is a spiritual process to come into recovery.
So you had the meeting in Rutherford, you had the exorcism in Atlantic City. So then where do you go?
When I landed back east, I felt like I was home. I love the people. I love the scenery. I still love back east. I mean, I loved back east. I love the people especially. Oh, my God, the men. Oh, my God, I love the men back east. I don't like most California men, not generally. I mean, whenever I've met a man in California, like he's always from back east. Let me tell you what happened in Allentown, because this, to me, is so indicative of what was to come on a grand scale. Allentown, mind you, instead of arresting prostitutes, they turned them over to me. Okay? Yeah. Now, so I'm putting this program together, and when they called me up, they said, we've got 2,000 prostitutes in a jail built for 200. We're overcrowded. We need your help. Now, they said, we will give you $350,000 to do something with these women. And that's when I got to Allentown, that's what they did. They said, here's your budget, $350,000. Now, go do something. These women that are coming to me through the system itself, you know, instead of being arrested, they're turning them over to me, right? What am I doing? I'm getting them so-called rehabilitated. Now, what that means is that this is kind of the 12-step view that we're using, is that you get out by helping others. So they're now getting jobs. Some of these women became social workers. Some became counselors. Some became probation officers. I had a couple that got a job in the mayor's office. I had another couple that became police officers. In whatever way they were doing it, they're now getting jobs to help other women get out too. So I'm now seeing them kind of disperse and go on their recovery path, right? Now, we've now cleaned out the jail in Allentown. I actually got a letter from the mayor. The mayor said, essentially, thanks to you, we don't have to build a new prison. So this letter from the mayor said, you saved us $1 million. So they start telling me how they were now able to provide services to senior citizens in Allentown because of this. So I'm like really happy.
Yeah,
right?
It's pretty good.
I thought I did pretty good. But then I start seeing it fall apart, and I don't know why. All I know is at first I'm getting phone calls of they're overcrowding the jail again. They trashed the program. They're packing the jail. And I'm thinking, why? Why are they doing this? I don't understand. I don't know if it's incompetence or disinterest or what the problem is. But then I'm calling Ruth Wernick. She was a woman who was, I guess you call the executive director in charge of this. It was the Lehigh County Program for Female Offenders is what our name was officially on this thing, right?
Yeah.
So now, mind you, I've created it. I got it going. Again, I got its wheels up. It's going. But then when I'm calling back thinking what's going on, I start getting these weird reports. Remember, my girls are now, I just say my girls, my members of this program are now on city council. I've got, my member, we're anonymous. So they're calling me from city council going, well, they came in here, and one of the first calls I remember getting was that they got rid of the house mother that was an ex-prostitute, and they brought in a non-prostitute as a house mother. And I'm going, why? Why would you do that? Why would you fuck with my program like this, right? And, well, we had to get somebody in there, and I'm like, and I'm supposed to believe you can't get an ex-prostitute in there? No, we can. I'm like, bullshit. I mean, so I'm having these arguments with them because I don't understand why they're fucking with my program, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I designed it, I created it, it works. But this is where I began to see that the system, I don't believe, wants success. Let's put it that way. By this point, Ruth won't even come to the phone anymore because I'm essentially asking her, why are you kicking the legs out of my table? I mean, this is the way I felt. And so she just stops talking to me at some point. And it came out, somebody got the bright idea that if they went back to the original problem, which was the overcrowding, that then they could get to justification to get this $1 million in federal money. And it was because they said some guy came into town selling it, okay? So I've seen this guy around. This guy gets around. He's slick. He's a big, tall white guy. He's a very, he's like 6'6", big guy. Looks nice, very articulate, and he comes in selling towns on, oh my God, wait till I tell you what he did in L.A. to get a new jail. They overpacked like 3 different jails, and they had riots. So they had to shut down these 3 jails because of riots. They were organized riots, mind you. And that's how they got the budget approved in L.A. for a $7 million jail, of course, run on electrical power, okay? I come to find out that this guy was a lobbyist for, you're going to get a kick out of this, the energy company, the electric company. Part of this whole sales pitch is that they give them the plans. They give them what we call the architecture plans for the jail, but it's built on an electrically power-driven jail. So that guarantees the power company like so many years of power usage, which is why they were selling this jail idea to Allentown. Now, all they had to do was what? Overcrowd the jails again. I'll tell you what a police officer that once sat me down, because I said, why do you keep targeting prostitutes so much? Please tell me why. I mean, because I feel like we're on the most wanted list, right?
Yeah.
And he tells me, well, it's really simple. He said, we got quotas. And he said, the simplest, easiest, cheapest way to fill that quota is hookers. He said, we can send out a sting ban and we can bring in 100 hookers in one day. And he said, we don't have to set up any undercover sting. We don't have to do any investigation. He said, we can totally just go out there, stick out our undercover, and boom, we got 100 women in one day and meet our quota. And he said, it is the quickest, easiest, cheapest way to meet our quota. And he said, you guys don't shoot back at us like real criminals. So I'm like, now I'm beginning to get an idea, well, like we're like the deer of the criminal justice system. We're basically compliant. Right? We can fill up their jails. In 1991, they got $1 million to build a new jail in Allentown. Only guess what? They ran out of food in the jail.
Yeah, the electric company don't care about that, though. Electric company don't give a fuck. Yeah.
They ran out of food in the Allentown jail. This big, brand new, spanky jail that they built, they ran out of food. But basically, everybody that worked at the jail just walked away. And left the inmates in there for 3 days without food until somebody came in and rescued them.
It's unbelievable. Because they don't care. They got their money. And
I'm not kidding. Exactly. They got their money. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And then those poor inmates were stuck in there 3 days with
probably
no food.
all
On top of the 3 days,
falsely
they were
accused
stuck
just
with
to
no
fill
food.
it up and all that bullshit that they pull. It pisses me off, man.
When these women come out of their jail, they have nothing. They have no money, no place to go. Their kids have been taken away from them. They've just been branded a criminal. So guess what? It's called a meth explosion. Allentown got rocked with a meth explosion after this. So yeah, they packed their little jail and they brought a meth explosion down on the town. Right? Guess what happened?
Selling them the drugs.
Methamphetamine explosion.
Yeah, bring the fucking drug train in. Who's running that? Eddie fucking Nash again? You know what I mean?
Oh my God. I got this phone call from the mayor of Allentown that made me laugh for days. He said, we're overrun by meth addicts. He said, they're robbing everything that isn't nailed down, evidently the town. He said, they're tearing apart the town. Because Allentown is not that big. It's a small town. So you put that many meth addicts, meth prostitutes in there, and they're pimps, and you're going to have a crime problem, right?
Go ask the fucking electric company, asshole. That's what I would have said. God damn.
Well, I agree with you.